viewers and listeners. You are welcome to another episode of the program Midday Vibes, coming your way from Caliphate TV on Star Times Channel 141 and Caliphate Radio transmitting on 91.9. I am Hajara Usman At-Tajri, your uncle for the show. The withholding of local government funds by state governors may soon become a thing of the past, as President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has threatened to evoke an executive order against governors who refuse to comply with the Supreme Court judgment granting financial autonomy to the third tiers of government. In today's edition of the program, we are going to discuss about the Supreme Court judgment for granting the key provisions of the Supreme Court judgment for granting financial autonomy to the state, to the local governments, and the threat made by the president to evolve an executive order or against non-compliance governors. And with me in the studio is Barrister Muhammad Nuhu, a former chairman of Nigerian Bar Association, Sokoto branch. You are welcome to the studio, sir.
Thank you so much.
Okay, let's dive in. What are the key provisions of the Supreme Court judgment for granting financial autonomy to the local governments?
Thank you, Ezra. The major provisions or decision by the Supreme Court in respect of the local government autonomy, the key points are 3 or 4.
Okay.
1, the Supreme Court have now judicially recognized the local government as a third tier of government. That is 1. 2, the Supreme Court now has prohibited the state government from dissolving local government chairman duly elected and appointing caretaker committees. 3, the Supreme Court have equally has dissolved or nullify the state and local government joint account, therefore permitting direct disbursement of the funds due to every local government to the local government direct without following through the state government. These are the 3 major pronouncements of the Supreme Court in respect of the local government autonomy.
Okay. So how does the judgment align with the Constitution, particularly subsection 162, subsection 5 to 8?
Yes, section 162, subsection 3, 4, 5, up to 7
Okay.
are the major provisions of the Constitution that created the state and local government joint account, mandating that all monies due to local government should be sent to the state government for the benefit of that local government. So now by the decision of the Supreme Court, it now saying that this particular provision of the Constitution have been abused, grossly abused by the state government. Therefore, the intendment of the Constitution is that every local government are entitled to their funds for the benefit of their citizens. So now, the funds due to every local government will go directly to local government. Therefore, the Supreme Court indirectly had nullified the provisions of section 162, sub 5 to 7, but maintaining the intent and spirit of this Constitution of having the local government as a third tier of government, working independent of the state.
Yes.
That is it.
Okay. So can the Supreme Court judgments be enforced?
Obviously, it can be enforced. It's surprising when you ask this question. The Supreme Court judgment that is the highest court of the land. That is the highest lawmaking body in the land. Because even if you make a law, the Supreme Court have the right to interpret it. So until after the interpretation, that is when you say this is the final law. So this judgment of the Supreme Court can be implemented, because now the Supreme Court is saying that each local government should have their funds directly. Meaning, and the federal government have even directed all local government to open their account with central bank so that they can directly send their funds to their accounts with the central bank. So it can be implemented. It can be enforced.
So, what are the key challenges in implementing the judgment granted by the Supreme Court for financial autonomy of the local government?
Yes, there are a lot of challenges. One is that the local government do not have the capacity to maintain that kind of inflow of funds transparently. They don't have the financial setup to implement funds like that. That is one of the weaknesses of the implementation that you will have. And there will be a kind of political resistance from the states, because the states are still the one who will conduct the local government election. So there will be a political interference on who becomes the local government chairman. So there will be a lot of resistance between, and there will be a lack of friction, because state will still want to control, because by section 162 sub 7, it makes provision in such a way that the State House of Assembly can legislate with respect to the forms of the local government. So they can still, using that provision, try to restrict the powers of the local government in the way they disburse and they spend their funds. So that will be some of the challenges in implementation.
Okay. So what mechanisms will be put in place to ensure compliance with the Supreme Court judgment?
The mechanisms to be put in place is, one, there will be financial Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit who will be monitoring the implementation of how the local government will spend their funds. There will be the Auditor General of the Federation who will also be there to supervise the implementation of the funds by the local government. These are some of the way mechanism to ensure compliance.
Okay. So what do you think are the implications of the President Tinubu's threat to evoke an executive order against non-compliance governors?
Well, I think, with all due respect to Mr. President, that is muscle flexing and playing to the gallery. Actually, because you have a Supreme Court judgment, you don't need any executive order anymore. You are just to implement the judgment of the Supreme Court. It's clear and it's direct. So it's just playing to the gallery, it's just flexing muscle. But I am of the view that, looking at the political situation now, we are in 2020, approaching 2026 election, 2027 election.
Yes.
Am I right? So it would be very difficult for the president to implement this Supreme Court judgment at this time, because he has the ambition, second-term ambition. Had it been he doesn't have any second-term ambition, he will have been able to implement. But for now, looking at that, he knows how powerful are the governors. He wants their vote. He wants their support. So I doubt if he will be able to implement it. But it's very simple to implement. Just direct. The judgment was handed down in July, around 11 July 2024.
Yes.
That is more than a year and 6 months now.
Just recently, the president.
Yes, but I said the judgment was given about a year and 6 months ago.
Yes.
If he had wanted to implement it, what is the problem? So is it now? No, I doubt. He's just trying to play to the galleries that, Nigeria, you should know that, yes, this is my intention. But definitely, I know he cannot. No, I doubt if he can proceed with the threat. But that will be good for Nigerians, that will be good for the polity.
Okay, viewers and listeners, it's still your show Midday Vibes coming your way from Caliphate TV on Star Times Channel 141 and Caliphate Radio transmitting on 91.9. We'll take a short break and we will be right back. Please stay tuned. Welcome back. In case you just tune in, this is Midday Vibes coming your way from Caliphate TV on Star Times Channel 141 and Caliphate Radio transmitting on 91.9. And earlier we discussed about the Supreme Court judgments granting financial autonomy to these local governments and the threat made by the president to evoke an executive order against non-compliance governors in the Supreme Court's judgments. And with me in the studio is Barrister Muhammad Nuhu, a former chairman of Nigerian Bar Association Sokoto branch. You want to be part of this conversation, the number to call is 090-6000-2022. Okay, Barrister Muhammad Nuhu. So how will these developments affect the relationship between the state and local governments?
Yes, you see, before the relationship between state and local government is like that of a master and servant.
Okay, what makes you say this?
Yes, or a kind of subordination relationship. But now it will be a relationship of cooperation, independence. Before, the local government are subservient to the state. Now, in theory, because we don't know what will happen.
Yes.
But from what is on ground now, it will be a relationship of cooperation. Thus, the way the state government are relating with the federal government. That is how the local government will now relate with the local government.
Okay.
Yes.
So how will disputes between the state governors and the local governments be resolved?
Yes. Disputes are resolved normally by courts. The issue, if there is any dispute between the local government and the state government, either the local government or the state government should file a case before the court and it will be resolved. And there is also other governmental organization, intergovernmental forums that can equally intervene in this. But these are part of the challenges which there is need to have a proper independent local government. There is need for amendment of the constitution because the constitution only stated that there shall be a democratically elected local government. There is no detailed provision as to how the election should be conducted and what is their tenure in office. This and a lot of things, the way it was done for the office of the president and the governors. There should be security of office. There should be, because the way it is, there is nothing in the constitution that empowers the local government to make laws. So if they have independence and they cannot make law, that will be an issue of implementations also. So, and they are not they are still being subservient to the state because the laws are being made by the State House of Assembly. They depended on the State House of Assembly for their existence. Because from the letters of the Constitution, you can decide as a chairman, as the governor of the state, to say that the local government should be run by a principal, for example. Because the Constitution did not say that there should be a local government chairman who will be the head of the local government. There should be so councillors. There is no provisions like that. So that will be an issue of implementation eventually when we go deeper into implementing the judgment of the Supreme Court. So I believe as time goes on, the Constitution have to be amended in order to give the local government a fresh breath of life.
So, what's your thought on this whole issue, the issue of the Supreme Court judgments and the threat made by the president? So, what's your thought on that?
Well, I would say the Supreme Court judgment is a welcome idea because the Supreme Court is a policy court all over the world. It's a policy court. So it will look at what is the mischief of the law and make provision even where there is none. When you look at the Constitution literally from the Constitution, the funds of the local government should go to a state joint account and should be managed by the state for the benefit of the local government. So, but by looking at the circumstances, because before the judgment, the federal government compiled all the statute position of every state and every local government. And majority of the state government by that time, they all have caretakers in democratically elected local government chairman. So you see, that is a welcome idea. The judgment of the Supreme Court is a welcome idea. But for the state government, it is obvious that the state government will not welcome this because it will give you, when you have control over, as a head of the family, you have control over your wife, your children, and all of them. And now somebody is trying to give your wife some independence. You will fight against it, obviously, and that is normal. So the state government, there will be a kind of tension for a while in the sense that they will not be, they will lack that liquidity that they used to have before. So they will obviously fight it. For the local government, it's a welcome idea. But if you look at where we are from 1999 today, since the emergence of ESCP and ICPC, you hardly have cases, very minimal cases of embezzlement by local government chairmen.
Yes.
We don't hear of that.
Yes.
But with this, that is where we are going. If not properly, yes, you see that all local government chairmen, after leaving office, they will all go back to EFCC cell and ICPC. God forbid. We hope that it will not be
It
like
will not
that.
happen.
Yes.
So, how do you think the financial autonomy of the local governments will impact the development and the governance at the grassroots level?
Yes, it's a welcome idea and it will rapidly speed up development at the local level because the local government will now have opportunity to develop, to invest in education, in health, in rural roads, and a lot of things. And there will now be less pressure in urbanization, making that people will not be forcing, everybody now is moving down to the center of the state capital, to the urban cities. But with this, now people can be able to go back to local government and live there peacefully. And I think maybe there will be an improvement in the security challenges that we are having.
So, okay, listeners, with this, we come to the end of today's episode of the program Midday Vibes, coming your way from Caliphate TV on Star Times Channel 141 and Caliphate Radio, transmitting on 91.9. On behalf of our production crew and our guests, Barrister Muhammad Nuhu, I am Hajara Usman Attajri saying stay blessed, stay empowered.